So George Kambosos gave his reaction to Vasyl Lomachenko unanimous decision over Commey, where he stated, quote, "Great boxing display by Loma, which puts him in the equation with Haney, Tank, and Ryan. Even after his loss against Teofimo, respect to Commey. You a warrior and tough as nails. Looking forward to fighting one of these fellow warriors in 2022. End of the quote. So apparently after Kambosos received a lot of backlash for stating that Lomachenko is next prior to the Commey fight, which I already dropped a video on that. I'm gonna leave the link for the video in the comment section below. Now all of a sudden Kambosos is having a change of thoughts, more so a change of energy on how he's approaching the situation, trying to make it seem like he's still in the process of selecting his next opponent, like he haven't made up his mind yet. Well, if you may wonder why, like I said before, he caught a lot of backlash for not keeping his word of fighting Devin Haney next and not being consistent with his standards. I mean, Devin Haney had to audition to even be in the equation. Meanwhile, Lomachenko, even before beating Commey, he was automatically next, according to Kambosos. We all know what time it is, and truth be told, Lomachenko underperformed. We already know Lomachenko ducked Devin Haney to cherry-pick Teofimo Lopez. I mean, this man relinquished his title. He was stripped of his WBC belt to avoid a fight with his mandatory Devin Haney. Just like a fake champion, Lomachenko surrendered his title in order to avoid the Devin Haney fight. He requested the NBF Witness Protection franchise in order to save face while ducking Devin Haney, which is the exact witness protection program that Kambosos currently holds. Then obviously, Teofimo Lopez exposed Lomachenko. Lomachenko didn't just lose to Teofimo Lopez, he got exposed, then made excuses like Teofimo Lopez is doing today. But we all know that's cap, because if Lomachenko had an injured shoulder, his right shoulder, right? Then how was he able to use his right hand during the second half of the fight? It should have been the other way around. If he actually had an injured shoulder, Lomachenko would have been using his right hand during the first half, and after feeling the pain, he wouldn't have been able to use it for the second half. That's how injuries usually work. We all saw Tank last week. He was using his left hand during the first half. Once he hurt his left hand, he stopped using it during the second half. But Lomachenko, it was the other way around. His shoulder was supposedly hurt before he even threw a punch. But during the second half, Lomachenko's shoulder healed through a miracle, because that's when he started to use his right hand. I mean, the audacity by Lomachenko, pathetic excuse. If you are going to make an excuse, at least make sure it makes logical sense. The reality is, just like Shakur Stevenson said, Lomachenko fought scared. He simply got exposed for being a hype job. That's why Lomachenko turned down 2 offers to fight Devin Haney. And obviously he underperformed last night because he fought Teofimo Lopez leftovers. However, he failed to stop Commey, and we already know Teo knocked out Commey in the second round. I even remember when Kambosos was asked about a Lomachenko fight a week ago, and he stated that he's not that interested because Teo already beat Loma, and he beat Teo. Then all of a sudden, as soon as Devin Haney pulled up on Kambosos, that's when he had a change of thoughts and stated that he will fight Lomachenko next, which is so shocking because Kambosos and Devin Haney already agreed to fight even before the Teofimo Lopez fight. The NBF league continues in the sport of boxing. Devin Haney has everyone shook. That's why Haney is the A-class boogeyman in the sport of boxing. If Kambosos goes back on his word and fights Lomachenko, we're gonna officially call this fight the duck-off, since literally Lomachenko brings nothing to the table. As far as more money, Devin Haney brings more money to the table. Kambosos will make way more money to fight Devin Haney than Lomachenko. Let me give you guys the stats. Devin Haney makes $3 million plus a fight. This year alone, Devin Haney made more than $6 million against Linares and Jojo. On the other hand, Lomachenko made $500,000 against Nakatani. That's right, only $500,000. And last night against Commey, Lomachenko made $750,000. So you do the math. Devin Haney brings 6 times the amount of money Lomachenko brings to the table. In fact, Devin Haney gets paid more than Kambosos, Teofimo Lopez, and Lomachenko all combined together. That's right. If you add up Devin Haney's last 2 purses, which is $6 million plus, and you add up Lomachenko last 2 purses, along with Kambosos last 2 purses, and even Teofimo Lopez, do you know Devin Haney made more money than all of them combined together? So we know for a fact who is the biggest money fight for Kambosos. It's obviously Devin Haney. In fact, Kambosos' highest payday was $1.28 million against Teofimo Lopez on the zone, who pays the most. And Kambosos' last 2 fights have been on the zone. Therefore, this fight is easy to make. Also, Devin Haney is the legacy fight for Kambosos. Kambosos always talks about that he's all about the money and the legacy fight. Well, guess what? We know the money fight is against Devin Haney, and the legacy fight is also against Devin Haney, because if Kambosos fight Devin Haney next, it's for the undisputed title, which it does not get bigger than that when it comes to legacy and making history. Meanwhile, the fight with Lomachenko is for nada. Absolutely nothing. And to put icing on the cake, Kambosos said he wants to make the fight that the fans want to see. Well, guess what? The whole world wants to see Kambosos fight Devin Haney next for Undisputed, as you all see on the poll above, and any other poll you can find. And last but not least, to eliminate any excuses for the people that say, well, Lomachenko is his mandatory, so he has to fight him next. Nope, that's not true. According to the WBO rules, unifications trump mandatories. So the exception rules apply, and Kambosos could fight Devin Haney next instead of Lomachenko or any other mandatory.
From this fight, I know this from the WBO standpoint, they're ready to establish Vasyl Lomachenko in victory into a mandatory position against Kambosos. And WBO will be first in line to say, like, hey, the mandatory is going to take place for us. Is that going to interrupt efforts to either have like a, let's maybe call it a showcase fight in Australia, or a Devin Haney undisputed fight?
Let's wait till they do it.
Okay.
And then they, when they say there's a mandatory, there's a time period by which you have to do a mandatory. You can also petition to have a fight in between if it's another significant fight. There are a lot of things that can happen.
Therefore, if Kambosos fights Lomachenko instead of Devin Haney next and doesn't keep his word, then we all know what time it is. Kambosos is a part of the NBF league. He'd rather lose to a fighter on the hope list, even if it means take less money, than lose to a fighter on the coincidental list for all of the money and legacy in the world, which will tell us a whole lot on Kambosos' character as a man. I mean, let's all face it. It ain't like Lomachenko is a walk in the park for Kambosos. That's a tough fight. That's a dangerous fight. Why will Kambosos fight Lomachenko for nothing, for no money, when he could fight Devin Haney for all of the money and the legacy? That would make no sense whatsoever, especially when he already beat Teo, who beat Lomachenko. So he has really nothing to gain. This is going to be a duck-off who's the number 1 duck at the lightweight division. Meanwhile, the Devin Haney fight is who's the king at the lightweight division. However, if Kambosos takes the Loma route, then we know he'd rather lose to a fighter on the hope list instead of a fighter on the coincidental list. And we know old media have been dying to get Loma back to the top. They erased this man's losses, falsely promoted him as undefeated, just like they falsely promoted Teo and Kambosos as undisputed. Kambosos is as much undisputed as Lomachenko is undefeated. Let that sink in. With the facts being laid out, drop your thoughts in the comment section below, subscribe below, and click on the notification bell to be continued on the next episode of Akhi, TV. Peace, and I'm on to the next one.